Welcome back. There's now an arrest warrant for an unnamed suspect accused of killing an American woman vacationing in Mexico. Shanquella Robinson lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and was on a trip with friends in Cabo. The local prosecutor in Mexico says quote, friends traveling with Robinson was her killer. He's now working with American authorities to have that woman extradited back to Mexico to face charges. When medical professionals first examined Robinson at her villa, they say she was alive but drunk and dehydrated. They suggested Robinson's friends take her to a hospital, but they declined. Later, first responders returned after Robinson had a seizure. They reportedly tried CPR multiple times but could not resuscitate. In an autopsy report, officials say Robinson had a severe spinal cord injury and dislocated neck. We asked forensic death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan what investigators need to be on lookout for.
It would take, probably repeated blows, twisting, those sorts of things in this area, quite a bit of trauma. So one of the things you're going to be looking for in a post-mortem exam is to look for any kind of other associated areas of hemorrhage that are surrounding, the muscular tissues and those sorts of things, and any evidence of fracturing of anything in there. If fracturing, you can actually compromise this area without what would be considered to be a fracture. We see these things that are put forth in entertainment where people's necks are snapped and all that sort of thing. That you don't have to go to that length to, to fracture a bone in order to compromise the structural integrity of that area.
Terry, do you think this person will be extradited to Mexico immediately, or will the FBI step in to prosecute first?
Well, I do think because there is an extradition agreement between Mexico and the United States, I do think that they will cooperate and have a timing agreement for this. And that agreement has been in place since 1978, so I think they've done this before. And frankly, I think to go back to Mexico, where it actually happened, that's where all of the evidence is. Let that proceed first, in my opinion, because it will get cold eventually if you don't go after it. And then after that case is resolved, bring her back here and prosecute her under the United States law. So I think we'll be able to do both. And frankly, I think they should do Mexico first and then come back here.
Yeah, I don't think that's double jeopardy because it's two different countries, but I got to double check that one. That's outside of my jurisdiction. Bernardo, you've been following the case closely. Does Joseph Scott Morgan's insight give new light to where this case may go?
Well, the insight that Joseph Scott Morgan, who is a pro, gives us is definitely what we knew, which it wasn't an accidental. It wasn't something that was self-inflicted. So it gives you the cause of death, because for any homicide prosecution, you have to link and make sure that the cause of death and the manner of death is a homicide. But in Mexico, they're charging it as a femicide because Shanquella Robinson was a female who was attacked in a violent manner. But we're hoping to hear something soon because we haven't really gotten substantiated information from the news or from Mexico. So hopefully we'll hear something soon about what's really going on and what happened on that fatal day.
Especially with this extradition that Terry talked about, the quicker that person gets sent back to Mexico, the quicker they get questioned, the quicker, hopefully, the family and we get some answers. Now to Buffalo, New York, where a white gunman pled guilty Monday to killing 10 black people in a supermarket. The 19-year-old shooter entered the plea to murder and hate-motivated terrorism charges. In May, the shooter, armed with a modified semi-automatic rifle, killed 3 people in a parking lot before entering Tops Friendly Market. Once inside the store, he shot and killed 7 others. The entire thing was live-streamed on Twitch through a camera on the gunman's helmet. The shooter is an admitted white supremacist. During Monday's plea hearing, he confirmed to the judge that he killed each person because of their race. The highest punishment imposed comes from the charge of hate-motivated domestic terrorism, carrying an automatic sentence of life in prison without parole. But he could face the death penalty if convicted on federal hate crime charges. The U.S. Justice Department has not said yet if they will seek capital punishment. Involving another supermarket shooting, we have updates for you in the Walmart massacre out of Chesapeake, Virginia. Authorities have released a death note from the Walmart supervisor accused of carrying out last week's attack. The 31-year-old shot 6 of his employees inside the store before turning his legally purchased 9mm handgun on himself. The shooter, along with 2 others, were found dead on arrival. The 4 other victims died from their injuries. In the note found on the shooter's phone, he accused his colleagues of giving him, quote, twisted grins. The shooter also accused them of celebrating his downfall on his last day of work, saying, quote, that's why they suffer the same fate as me. The note ended with the shooter writing, quote, my God, forgive me for what I'm going to do. The gunman had no criminal history and had worked for Walmart for more than a decade.